It's close-ish. It's kind of like yes. That is exactly it. You are so locked in right now. Oh my god. Hey everybody, welcome back to Soap. I hope you're feeling sudsy. My name is Mikey, also known as Beware. I am here with my co-host, Robbie.
Hey, also known as Emerald. I didn't say that last time.
Oh, yeah.
That's like my actual YouTube. Yeah, I have like a YouTube channel and everything, and I think we kind of talked about it,
So you used to be Robbie is Not Music. Yeah. Which was very much
such a stupid name.
It fit for like, and this is not a dig, that was like classic YouTube name.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Dan is Not on Fire. You know what I mean? It's
true.
like one of those.
Well, that's what I thought is like Robbie is not cool. But then somebody already had that. And then you were like, well, what about Robbie is Not Music? And I was like, all right, fuck it. I can't think of anything else.
Got anything exciting to share?
Actually, I want to ask you how things, because I was telling you about how I was really busy with work this week, but you were also really busy with work.
Oh, yeah.
So I would like to hear about that.
I was a little busy this week. I was really busy last week. My job, which is I do, to keep it relatively vague, I work in brokerage operations, which is...
That was more specific than I thought you were going to do. I thought you were just going to say finance.
Oh, I mean, most people don't know what that means.
Oh.
And if we're being honest, I don't really know what that means.
I do money.
Yeah, no. But anyway, the company I work for, which is rather large, opened up a new branch, or they bought a branch. I don't know the specifics. I had to do a lot of extra bullshit for many days. And also one of my coworkers was out on vacation. Last week I was super busy. We were going to actually play D&D on Sunday, and I had to cancel. I'm DMing because I just did not have the time to prep, unfortunately. It
must be something on the air because my girlfriend also stayed late with work today because she's a graphic designer at like a sign shop. And somebody fucked up, some supplier like dropped the ball or something. And so she had to like stay late to get like a shipment to make sure that they had it like, you know, before the close of end.
I mean, we're all obviously in very different industries. My initial guess was like things are just busier in the summer.
Things are busier in the summer, and also like because it's signs, especially in the summer, like apparently the parade people are always the people who show up like, I need a sign tomorrow. I don't know what it is about people who organize parades and not being very organized, but
I did have a story I wanted to share that was not related to work, and it's not related to our topic today. It's just kind of funny. I've been making it a habit to go on walks like around my neighborhood.
Ooh.
Try to go once or twice a day. I'm really trying to get like 10,000 steps a day. That's that whole sort of thing. I live in a suburb, right? It's not a particularly rural area. I grew up in a somewhat rural area, so I know. Point is, there are these deer that live around here. They usually sprint away, like when you get close to a deer, right? That's their whole thing. They're afraid of everything, right? Except for trucks in the middle of the highway. They love standing.
Yeah, every once in a while you come across a deer with no fear. A no-fear deer.
This is it. There's a deer who hangs out around my neighborhood that aggressively doesn't give a shit.
Wait, like a single deer?
Yes.
Huh.
One deer. Yeah, it's so weird. Like he stands over not too far from me, like right up the street by these condos. He just stands there. He'll let people like walk up. I've seen little kids like go up to pet him and stuff.
He wants to be your friend.
I think people might be feeding him or something.
Oh, that would make sense.
But yeah, it's like I've never seen a deer that just didn't care.
That's fucking cool.
Last weekend, I saw a few kids like try up to walk and pet him, and he like. My first thought was like, well, maybe he's injured or something, but no, he'll just kind of like gently walk away, like, no, don't touch me, please. Sometimes he just lays down, lets people take pictures. It was great. Bizarre.
I love that.
Yeah, trillest deer I've ever seen. Trill. Is trill not a word? Am I not hip like the youngins?
Trill I thought that was a new like slang thing that I hadn't heard of.
Oh, it's probably not. Now I sound really stupid. Like I would have sounded bad.
No, it's a thing now. It's a thing now.
It's totally
Just
shway.
being trill. Yeah.
So
Straight trillin'.
Anyway, we're gonna move away from that. This really cool deer story that I had that I knew you'd be super thrilled to hear. Today's topic, drum roll please.
We need you back, Huts.
Crashing and burning immediately.
So far we've talked about work and a deer.
Not like an exciting cool deer, a particularly lame.
No, it was
deer.
there was a pretty trill deer.
No,
you
it was
know?
a trill deer.
Yeah. If you're still listening after the deer story and the work story, leave a comment with either a deer emoji or a briefcase emoji.
Leave a comment making a large 80 by 80 ASCII art image of a deer holding a briefcase.
You know what you should really fucking do if you're not a noob? You should comment a Triforce. I bet you can't.
That's a little bit of a deep cut right there. I don't know anyone's gonna know what that means. But anyway, we have a topic today. Could I get a drum roll, please? Nostalgia. Yeah.
Woo! We need the stock like cheering sound to play.
Yeah, I know exactly. I've used that like in shitty videos that I made when I was like 10. The anime. That's more Mario than the.
That was Mario.
Wahoo! Anyway, nostalgia, but specifically nostalgic things from our childhood that are kind of obscure. So the example that I gave when I told you about this was, I could easily talk about for like 20 minutes Shark Boy and Lava Girl, but it may be an absolute fever dream of a movie. It was totally sick when I was 7, but a ton of other 7-year-olds also thought it was totally radical and did kickflips.
Were we 7?
I don't know when it came out. I was just guessing.
I'm gonna guess 2006. 2005. You were right.
Fuck yeah.
For all intents and purposes, I was born in 98 because I was born like less than a week before 1998.
Okay, yeah, because I'm middle of 98. That's why
Right.
I assume you're like a year older than me. But yeah, okay, yeah, so roughly the same. All right, gotcha. Well, anyway, we would have been that number of years old when that came out. But so I want to dig into like the nitty gritty, dusty, musty dollar store bargain bin shit. You know, franchises that absolutely did not survive the test of time. Right? Do you get what I'm talking about? So
I suppose the two things that I prepared were I think better known, but we'll figure it out.
We'll pretend that they weren't. Basically, I just wanted to be like, you know, if I talk about something, one, I'm knowledgeable about it. You're probably not, and most people are probably not. So you get something out of it, you know?
So what you're saying is this podcast episode, we're going to talk about content that is not relatable.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Well, let me ask you this. When who's a podcast? Joe Rogan brings on Bernie Sanders and they talk about I've watched like one episode of Joe
That
Rogan.
episode's actually really good.
When they talk about like orangutans, right?
Jamie, pull that shit up.
Joe Rogan talks about orangutans, right? Are you an orangutan?
Get your fucking face off.
Can you relate to that? I think not. So the first thing I want to talk about is Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. Are you familiar?
That sounds familiar. Keep going.
Okay. It's a series of video games. First one was released in 2002 on the PlayStation 2. Okay. It's centered around Ty. He's an animal mascot video game character. The gimmick is that he's Australian.
I think I saw like a commercial for this once.
There's one specific commercial I want to talk about, so maybe it's the one that you saw.
Oh shit. This is gonna be like
I hope this like ignites something inside your brain. But the gimmick is he's Australian, so he fights with boomerangs. He has the accent. The story takes place like in the Australian wilds. It's all out in nature. I'll get to what makes the games cool in a second, but I did want to talk about one of the ads. It was both a commercial and like a magazine ad. This ad is sort of like an emotional experience. And so I want you and our listeners at home to close your eyes and picture this, all right?
Okay, I'm closing my eyes.
We open up in a hospital.
What's the music that's playing?
Funeral music.
Wait, really?
I don't think there was music. I think you
right.
hear like the beeps and the wheezing of like ventilator systems, right? We're in the emergency ward.
Oh no.
There are 3 hospital beds in frame. And in each one, someone is completely covered in a full body cast. They've got their limbs elevated. They're eating and drinking through straws. One of them is breathing through a ventilator. They're going to put them on the iron lung. Their beds all have labels. One says dragon. One says bandicoot. And one says hedgehog. And they all have boomerangs sticking out of their casts where they have been violently pierced. Standing over all 3 beds, grinning as he gazes upon the despair that he's wrought, is Ty the Tasmanian motherfucking tiger. The ad for this game was Ty brutalizing beloved household names Spyro, Crash, and Sonic, and then visiting them in the hospital with his boomerang in hand with the weapon of their torture. Either to gloat or maybe to threaten them further. I don't know why.
There was a canceled television series in 2004.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wait, did it actually air?
No, it was canceled.
Oh my God. I didn't even know that.
Well, actually, this is what it actually says. It was announced in 2004 that Film Roman and Chrome Studios was developing an animated series based on the video game series. No further reports, however, have been made since then, and the project is believed to be canceled.
It's not canceled.
In the 19 years since 2004, the project is believed to be canceled.
Well, Chrome is they made the games, so that makes sense. That's fascinating.
Okay, so that sounds really familiar to me. The commercial does not. I looked it up.
Whoa!
Holy shit!
Damn!
There was like some loud ass thunder outside.
Yeah, I felt that one.
I looked it up and I didn't recognize that character at all. So no, I have not heard of this.
Well, anyway, that was a commercial that I remember seeing at one point when I was younger. There's also a magazine ad. I'll put it up on the video what it looks like, but he's basically just standing there gloating over the fact that he's basically murdered all your beloved characters, right? And I was a huge Sonic fanboy, so I remember seeing that and be like, damn, this guy's good.
You're like Shadow. Damn.
We'll get into that. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Is that on the list?
Into that. But anyway, so that was just a funny little anecdote. But the gameplay for these games is actually super cool. You're running around in the Australian outback. You're in rainforests, deserts, mountains. You get to swim around the Great Barrier Reef. And it's like a collectathon type game.
Okay.
We don't need to get into all the specifics of like the types of things you collect.
I can see it right now. I can see the character, and so I can see like the low resolution, like grayish, like outback textures that you're running around in.
That's good.
There's probably some like shitty ass like MIDI music playing, like and there's probably like didgeridoos and shit.
That's not far from how it sounded. That like little noise you just made. It's close-ish. It's kind of like yes, that is exactly it. You are so locked in right now. Oh my God. Anyway, yes, you're totally keep imagining that. The primary mode of combat is boomerangs. Okay, so you have 2. You throw them at enemies. They always come right back to you, right? So like you don't have to reload, but you have to wait for them to come back, right? As you progress through this game, if you collect enough stuff, like the right kind of things, you can take your boomerangs to a scientist named Julius, who is also a little koala bear man. That's not really important, but he will imbue your boomerangs with elemental powers.
Oh shit, I have played this fucking game.
You have?
Okay, when you talked about the boomerangs.
Yes, okay. That's the coolest part.
I didn't have the game, but I had some friends when I was little who had a PlayStation. I didn't have a PlayStation because my parents didn't believe in like video games. They had like Ratchet and Clank, and I think they had this game. Okay. And I think I played it a couple times when I was at their house. Yeah.
So we are unlocking. Fuck
They're
EMDR.
cool guys.
Remember, there was a fire boomerang. There was an ice one, an electric one. There is an aqua rang that you can throw underwater. I love these. There's a zoomerang, which is long distance. There's an infrared one. There's a kaboomerang, which, as you may have guessed, explodes. The chronorang freezes bad guys in time.
I think I remember that one.
And then the pinnacle that you only unlock in the final level, the Doomerang, which is it's remote control, and it will travel as far as you can take it as long as you don't like hit any walls. So you have to use it to like, you're fighting this bad guy in a giant robot, and you have to throw the Doomerang and like navigate it into the heart of this giant machine and blow it up. It was the fucking coolest thing ever.
Sonic who?
Exactly. Like I was like,
what Bandicoot?
But in Thai, right? You have all these sick weapons that you can use and unlock. The world is actually the main cool thing. Like I said, the boomerangs are, the world is actually really cool. So you're in Australia.
It's Australia.
Well, yes, but it functions on a mythology based on Aboriginal folktales, which is not something that you get a lot of influence in like most Western like movies and TV. So brief pitch, there's an alternate dimension known as the Dreaming, and inside it there are these magical beings known as bunyips. They act as like a guide to Tai and all of his allies. So with the help of the bunyip and like Tai's friends, you're trying to defeat Boss Cass, who is an evil genius, and he's also a cassowary. If you don't know what a cassowary is, picture an ostrich and then make it like twice as ugly. But anyway, you go through these levels, you're taking down his henchmen, you make better and better boomerangs, and eventually, this is where I brought it up earlier, you come to a boss fight, and somebody throws a boomerang at you.
Oh, shit.
It has a skull on it.
Oh, my God.
It's another Tasmanian tiger. Sly, the Tasmanian tiger. Their shitty shadow ripoff. And you beat him in like 18 seconds. It's a really shitty boss
that's
fight.
Awful.
It was so cool when I was like 8 or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's stupid little bits like that in the game, but that's essentially the first Thai game. I will not go into as much detail on the other two, but I do want to hit the main points on the other two games because it was a trilogy. In Thai 2, he and his friends create what's called Bush Rescue, which is like an organization to help people all across the outback and then also stop Boss Cass because he's back again. In order to do that, Julius, little koala scientist man, gets fucking busy. He builds a bunch of mechs, like giant robot suits that let you punch the fuck out of bad guys.
So we're departing from the boomerang meta. Now we're going into
well, you do
mechs.
both, but yes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So like half the game is still boomerang combat, and the other half of the game is giant robots punching shit. And he names the mechs bunyips after the magical good creatures from the Dreaming.
Okay.
So there's a battle bunyip. There's a thermo extreme bunyip. You can dive under lava. There's a submarine one. There's a construction one. It can lift heavy shit. And then the final one you get is the shadow bunyip, which you can punch stuff, but you can also shoot a giant laser. It's like, all right, cool. On top of that, you get a whole bunch of other boomerangs. There's I love these stupid buns. The X-Rang, which lets you see through walls and shit. And then finally, there's Thai 3, Night of the Quinkin. This one was the holy grail to me, and I will tell you why. It came out in 2005, and I had already played the other two, but I couldn't play this one for a very important reason. It was rated E10.
Oh, no.
And I was 7.
Oh, no.
And so I had to wait 3 fucking years.
Like your parents wouldn't let you, or you, like out of principle, wouldn't play it.
At this point, my parents were like, no, you can't. If it's E10, you can play when you're 10. Later, this is an important lore I'm glad you brought up.
Okay.
Like when I was 12 or something, my mom was like, you want to play this T game? And I was like, no, obviously not.
I'm
like,
not 13 yet, mother.
I internalized these rules. They were really important. Mm-hmm. But at that point, I was like, I want to play the Thai game. But yeah, so I had to wait 3 years before my mom let me rent this one from Blockbuster. But let me tell you, it was fucking worth it. This is the best one, easily.
Oh, shit.
So, the bunyips were this benevolent creatures from the Dreaming. There were evil creatures, too, called the Quinkin. They were like nightmares, essentially. So there's like dreams, nightmares. They're creepy shadow demon things, and they were immune to almost all regular weapons. Like, you can't hurt them. You can't just throw boomerangs at them. So you have to find this artifact called the Bunyip Gauntlet, which lets Ty wield his boomerangs like blades. And so you go from throwing them to a fucking beat 'em up, hack and slash gameplay. Yes, it was so cool. And that's why it was rated E10 for the violence. And you could like slice these things up, hit them with combos, launch them into the air using your boomerangs.
So you don't even like throw them anymore?
You still can.
Oh, okay.
But like to fight Quinkin specifically, you gotta fucking ninja fight him.
Oh.
It was sick.
At least that came out like before motion controls.
Oh
so
my
you didn't
God.
have to like.
Yeah, no, your arms would have fell off. You had to do that on like the Wii. But instead of just getting new types of boomerangs, they introduced elemental stones. So I could put a fire stone and a homing stone into one boomerang, so it could do both.
Oh shit.
And then so that one would like burn and like go long distance or whatever. Some of these had up to 8 slots. So you could mix and match all these crazy sick weapons, and then you're also fucking slicing people up with them. There were more mechs, which was awesome. And then the final fight was against the Quin King of the Quinkin. You're told from early on that he's taken the form of the most powerful being in the world. And when you make it to him, he looks just like you.
I knew it was going to be another fucking Tasmanian tiger.
It's Sly all over again.
Wait, is it actually Sly?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
but he basically has your basic like shape, and he fights the same way you fight. You fight him with fucking the special shadow rangs or whatever. You kill him, and then it's a great finale. That's the whole Ty trilogy. Basically wanted to hit all those notes because it was a lot of fun. They did make a 4th one, which is like on the DS or something, but it was a side scroller. It didn't have
it's like Home Alone 4. It like, we don't talk about it.
Do you have a nostalgic property you would like to share?
I'll start with this one.
Mm-hmm.
My parents did not want me to have a video game system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only way I eventually got a video game system was when my grandparents basically, I think they kind of went behind my parents' back.
Ooh, sabotage.
And got me a GameCube. Me and my cousin both got a GameCube for Christmas. So it came with Mario Party 7, which was fucking goated Mario Party game. It's also the only Mario Party game I've ever played, but it's clearly the best one.
That's the only way you're allowed to form opinions.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right.
I had a couple of other games, but the one of the games that I really loved was Beyblade Super Tournament Battle.
God, Beyblade.
I was fucking obsessed with Beyblade. All right.
Mm-hmm,
And one of the frustrating things is that like nowadays when you talk about Beyblade, people are like, oh yeah, Beyblade Metal Fusion or whatever. This is revisionist Beyblade history. Okay.
All right, set the record
OG
straight.
Beyblades were, the big plastic ones.
So did you have like the little arena and you'd like carry it around and have like ones you would fight people?
I had 3 arenas.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. So you could buy, they had like a whole like aisle for this shit in Walmart back in the day. You had like big arenas that you could get that were basically just like like thinly like molded plastic, basically in the shape of like a bowl, essentially. If you're one of like the 5 people who's never heard of Beyblade, it's literally spinning tops that look edgy, that have cool designs, and they're like have like sharp edges and stuff. Your top and your opponent's top fight each other, and the one that stops spinning first loses. You can also lose by getting knocked out of the arena. In the video games and in the newer ones, you can lose by having your Beyblade get destroyed, because with those toys, it was like impossible to destroy them. And so they had to actually like design, like the new ones I think have like springs in them where if you hit it hard enough, it'll actually like explode. It is pretty cool. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. How the fuck does the video game work? If it just tops?
Okay, so the video game and the TV show, there are parts to the toy. And so every Beyblade has a base. It has a gear. There's a weight disc, which is like the only metal part of it that, gives it more weight, so it has more inertia. There's the top is the part that like, attacks the other Beyblade. And then there's a little piece of plastic at the top that just covers it. But it has a picture of like a mythical monster or something on it, and that's your Bit Beast.
It
It does absolutely nothing
But it's the most
in real
important
life.
part.
Because in the video games and the TV shows, the bit beasts are actual mythical creatures that their spirits are trapped inside the Beyblade.
Yeah, okay.
And so the strongest Beybladers have bit beasts. Not everybody has one.
Oh, okay.
And so the strongest Beybladers, they just fucking fight each other with their bit beasts.
And so when one bit beast wins, the other person's Beyblade explodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is actually pretty smart because I guess fucking like Bandai Namco or what, they basically went to TV Tokyo and they were like, we have these, we need to get kids excited for these fucking spitting top toys. Give us a TV show.
Just generate lore and then we'll apply it on top.
And they did a pretty
top.
good job because they were like, yeah, so you've got these fucking mythical creatures that fight each other, and then you can have like mythical creature combat as a proxy for the Beyblades hitting each other.
Well, okay, you know what's so funny about that? And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, is you were a Beyblade kid. I was a fucking Bakugan kid. Same shit. The toy sucks. It's a like the Bakugan, I won't get too into it. It's a little ball that pops open into a really shitty Pokemon knockoff. That's it. That's all it does. And if it doesn't land on a magnet, it doesn't even fucking open. Right? At least Tops, like there's a competition element to it, right?
Right.
But they make an anime with fucking characters and lore, and they use that to sell their shitty toys. But I feel like this is like Civil War or like Bloods and Crips or whatever. And it's like you have Team Bakugan and your Team Beyblade.
I thought that Bakugan came out as like a competitor to Beyblade.
I don't know which came out first.
Because I'm pretty sure Beyblade like started in like the late 90s.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah. It
Okay,
was like
Bakugan's
with like
2000s.
Pokemon in terms of like the
Really?
initial wave.
Is that true?
The Pokemon TV show started in 97. I'm pretty sure the Beyblade TV show was like 99. But let me see.
I thought Beyblade would have been like late 2000s. I just assumed it was the same time.
1999. That was
Damn.
that was when the toys started, and then the Oh, okay. So they started selling the toys. And they had a manga series. The manga series got adapted into the anime.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes
So
sense.
there was a manga that preceded the anime,
But
which is
it's still
interesting.
promotional material for their shitty toys. Like that was always the
Yes.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
You could have like a little like handheld launcher, but then there were also like the big ones that basically like look like fucking guns. And then you pull it and you feel really cool. They had like Beyblades that had magnets in them, and then you could have like an arena that has you could put magnets in certain places so that the Beyblades like go to different places, which like changes,
yeah, okay.
and like there's a little bit of like strategy that you could do. I also had an arena that folded up so you could take it places, and it had a little compartment so that you could store your Beyblade parts, and you could like build a Beyblade,
I can see
and
that
have
being,
street Beyblade fights.
Yeah, okay. I can see that being addicting as like an 8-year-old. Yeah, all right.
And I got fucking as many Beyblades as I could, and like, fought, tested different Beyblade designs to see like what were the best ones.
Mhm.
And I had a Beyblade that was just like the best one because it was like the best parts of all the best Beyblades. I think I could literally like, oh shit, I can picture it in my head. So it had one of the few ones where like the base like had actually like a metal contact point. So
Okay.
the very tip was metal instead of plastic. And then I had the black Dranzer top. If you know Beyblade, then you know what that is. But so in the show, there are the different characters. And so you've got Tyson, who's like the protagonist.
I'm sorry, Tyson is
His name is Tyson.
It's such an Americanized, like he was probably Thai or something in the Japanese.
Actually, I think, okay, his name's Tyson Granger. That was not.
Granger?
Yeah, that was not his name in the.
That's great.
One of the cool things is that each of the main characters, their bit beast and their like strategy was different. So Tyson was all about offense. There was Max, and he was all about defense. And then there was Ray, who was all about like endurance, and so his just keeps spinning for as long as he can.
Yeah.
And then Kai was like all around, and he's like the like anti-hero like rival character. And so he's like the edgy boy. And so there's a storyline in one of the anime, because they had multiple anime series, like how Pokemon had like multiple
Yeah.
series. Yeah. Where he becomes like evil because it turns out that before the story of Beyblade, he was part of this like secret Beyblading organization.
Okay, yeah.
Where they like brainwash kids into like being like perfect Beybladers.
Okay. Secret child military of Beybladers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they got him back, and then he got the black, I think it was black Dranzer, not dark Dranzer. It was black Dranzer. And so it was like Dranzer, but instead of being like a red phoenix, it's a black phoenix.
Damn. Sounds kind of sick, actually, a black phoenix.
So that this shit actually gets dark because in that like storyline, they're like trying to like engineer like cyber bit beasts. So they have like Cyber Dragoon instead of Dragoon, which is Tyson's bit beast.
All right.
And then they literally have scouters. They
Dragon
literally
Ball
just
Z.
stole that shit from Dragon Ball Z. I will show you a picture.
That's funny.
Hold
So
the fuck on.
it would tell like the bit beast power level or the
Yeah.
That's funny. Did they have a name for it? Was it like spin level or something, or was it just?
Oh my
power
god,
level?
yeah. Because the Cyber Dragoon one, it was like a bi-level Beyblade, so it was like twice as tall as a normal Beyblade. Look at this shit.
Yeah. Wow.
But you see how this part at the bottom is smooth,
Yes.
and the spiky part that's supposed to hit the opponent is on the top.
Yeah.
So it actually is a piece of shit. Actually, the other cool thing about this is that the base was spring loaded. So if it got hit hard enough, it would jump and then try and jump onto your opponent's Beyblade and try and basically like hit it so that it would like destabilize.
That's kind of rad.
Yeah.
That they actually were like, all right, let's expand on this really simple concept and try to make them do. Did it ever work? Did they ever work?
I had one, didn't work. So Kai goes to like this school where they're like brainwashing, but like everybody else is just like an NPC and like he's the protagonist. And so he's like being badass while they're all like trying to learn how to Beyblade for this evil organization or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's like one kid in the class that is like actually nice to Kai. And then he's like, oh yeah, stop. Leave me alone, Baka or whatever. He actually like kind of like gets a soft spot for this kid. And then this is the guy that they decide to give the new like Bit Beast and stuff. Cause like also you use, cause like you have like a soul connection to your Bit Beast. So they're trying to like cybernetically like invoke that, emulate that.
Emulate it, I guess? Are they?
Yeah. They're trying to like use like brain anime technology, like connect you. It's basically like Evangelion.
I was gonna say it sounds
And
like Eva.
As a result, you actually get into some of the like psychological horror. So they send him after the Blade Breakers, which is the like main characters. Okay. And over the course of fighting them, he loses control of his Bit Beast.
Okay.
And the software like goes haywire and shit. And it like breaks his mind. He literally like, he's like, I'm so dizzy, I can't like think. And it's basically implied that he like became like permanently like mentally disabled or he died or something. Yeah.
Okay, so there's normally a soul connection between this child and this monster. And because they created a digital monster, ripoff of Digimon, and they tried to create a digital connection, it was not like real. It was artificial, and it had like backlash or whatever, and it fucked up his brain.
Something like that, yeah.
Wild. Also weird that has similar themes to something I'm going to talk about later that I was not expecting there to be any overlap from. So you'll know what I'm talking about when I get there, but that is fascinating. That is not what I thought Beyblade was about.
That is a big thing about Beyblade. That's not even what I meant to talk about. What I meant to talk about was Beyblade Super Tournament Battle.
Oh, the video game.
Yeah, which was a Beyblade video game for the GameCube. But what I remember is all of it because I found a copy of it at the exchange a few weeks ago.
I've been seeing you posting about it.
And I picked that shit up immediately.
In the Discord, yeah.
And My girlfriend still has a working GameCube. And so I played that shit. And let me tell you, objectively speaking, this game is like impressively bad. Like,
isn't that the worst?
It had gone to like, holy shit, I'm playing like this childhood, like important piece of my childhood, to holy shit, it's like impressive how awful this was and how it kept me so entertained as a kid.
Yep.
Literally the whole game is you Beyblade battle. They have all of the main characters from the show. They have a couple of like side characters and a couple of like enemies. Mm-hmm. But a couple of the side characters, they just didn't want to fucking give them their actual like Beyblades from the show. So they just like made custom Beyblades with like the parts, because the other part of the game is that you can buy Beyblade parts and then build a custom Beyblade. Okay. Just like with the toys. Yeah. So when I replayed this game, I played a couple rounds on like free play to like get the hang of it. And then it's like, okay, now you should try and play the tournament. I beat the entire tournament on the first try. Damn. Except for the very last part, because you play the first few rounds of the tournament. If you lose in the tournament, you can go into the consolation match because it's double elimination. If you lose a match, I think they give you like 10 mulligans. Wow, okay. So you can just keep playing. Yeah. If you lose, you can just keep going until you win. And you just, it's like, it's basically like levels in a game where like, if you die, you just restart the level. But then effectively that makes this a game with 10 levels. Each one takes about 5 minutes to do. And that's the whole game is an hour? And so I did the tournament. I got to the finals, and that they give you a chance to like buy new parts and upgrade your Beyblade. And I was just able to afford like half of like the best parts because I had beaten everybody. Okay, so this was like designed either for very young children, or they just aggressively did not give a shit. It was just a really bad game. Wow. It was just like a bargain bin game. And so you're playing the finals, and then some random person comes in from the crowd and is like, is this the level of talent for the finals? And then, okay, whoever you were going to play before, you're not doing that anymore. So the semifinals is with this random dude. Huh. And then he's really easy to beat. And then another random person comes up and is just like, hey, I want to play Beyblade too. This is a little kid named Daichi. And I realize now that he's basically like the Sun Wukong character, because he's just like a little goofball. But then he just like obliterates you. Yeah. That's good. So I was able to beat everybody else except for this little bitch. Except for Davis. Damn. Good for him. I will say, so I had a different thing that I wanted to talk about, but talking about like PS1 GameCube era games is making me remember this, and I feel like we need to talk about it. Did you ever have to like look up the archaic text document walkthroughs? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like you go to game. I do know what you're talking about. You go to exactly. You go to like GameFAQs.com. So you've used or those. IGN. Or so I didn't do that for Beyblade because it was so easy. Well, also my access to the internet was very limited, but I did do that for Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Ah, okay, yeah. And I found all the cheat codes where if you name like one of the guests at your park, John E. Rockefeller, it'll give you $10,000. Yeah, and you can just keep doing that. Those yes, I remember. So like all those old school cheat codes, and all the cheat codes were either infinite money, infinite health, or make your head big. Well, there were a couple of cool ones actually, because there were like some hidden features in roller coaster. So for example, you can see like the rider's perspective on a roller coaster. But there was like a name that you could give a park guest, and then you could see them like from their perspective, just like walking around doing park things. Oh, which was actually pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, that's yeah. It was like a hidden feature. So
I just want to be clear because most people probably, if you were born like after 2002, you probably don't even know what we're talking about here. These are game walkthroughs.
Oh man, this is dating us.
They're not even HTML, okay? It was like a TXT file written in like 2003, 2004. It always had shitty ASCII art at the top of the right, of like the name of whatever game it was talking about. And these are walkthroughs for like PS1, PS2, GameCube games. There was no directory because it's a text file. Like today, I'm playing like Tears of the Kingdom. I just Google anything. IGN has 7,000 articles covering every possible thing.
Well, now there's a different kind of thing because now it's like, how do I get the Soldier's Greaves in Tears of the Kingdom? During your adventures in Tears of the Kingdom, you may want to have some stronger armor. Right. Well, good thing you can get the Soldier's Greaves.
There's a whole article.
The Soldier's Greaves are a very strong piece of armor that were originally in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The Soldier's Greaves in Tears of the Kingdom are basically the same, but they're located in a different part. Where are they located? Well, you may have seen where they're located if you were looking in the game, but if you decided to give up, then we will tell you where they are now.
They got to make sure.
Now, where they are, you'll need to do this quest.
Yep. Mm-hmm. They make sure that you're on that page for a long time. But they give you a specific answer to anything you're looking for, including where the Soldier's Greaves are.
Speaking of which, I'm glad that I looked that up because incredibly minor Tears of the Kingdom spoilers. There's like a little secret passage that gets close to Hyrule Castle, like underground.
Yeah.
I thought it went all the way to Hyrule Castle because I asked you guys about it because you guys had started playing it before me. And then you were like, Hyrule Castle's fucking huge and it's like the end of the game. Don't do that yet. And so I stopped and I only got one of those pieces of armor. But if I had just gone a little bit farther, I would have gotten all three pieces of the armor.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I looked it up and then I just went and I got the.
Oh, so you weren't just making that; you were counting that from memory when you were looking for the Soldier's Greaves. But okay, that's just so funny. Like the difference in like today, the issue is finding this hyper specific article. It just has all this blather at the beginning. Right. But back then, you had this shitty text document. You had to scroll all the way down to whatever level you were on. You had to find it. And it's text, so it's not video, obviously. It didn't even have fucking pictures. So if it says the 5th collectible is under the bush to the right, you don't know what fucking bush they're talking about. There could be 30,000 bushes, and you certainly didn't have like a smartphone. So what I remember what I had to do is I didn't have a laptop either. So I'd have to pause the game, run across the house to my parents' desktop, which loaded super slow because we're on like 2003 internet, right? Scroll to the next part of the level, run back to the TV, try to figure out what that means. If you don't know, run back and forth, back over and over. It was so tedious. But as a little kid, you have like all of the time in the world.
Right.
So that was fun as hell. Like now that would give me an aneurysm having to do that. But that was so much. That was so great as a kid. I was like, dude, it tells me how to do it. Oh my God.
There are other people who have played this game.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, wait a minute. Did they all get this one from the Blockbuster too?
Oh man, Blockbuster game rentals where it's just the disc and it has some like generic case that it's in. Yeah.
And that was a time I used to love getting games from Blockbuster and like didn't fly.
It's so weird to think about because I think of Blockbusters like, oh yeah, that's like a 90s thing. That's ancient. Like I remember going to Blockbuster, but that was not like if you're an actual 90s kid, then you have memories of like being a teenager and like going on a date where you rent like a Blockbuster movie, but all that went away. Like I just have like a couple of like really vague memories of that. That's like an interesting thing because it's like, I feel like I am possibly like the zoomeriest person of our friend group, or maybe that's just because like run in those more of those circles in the internet or something. But I wonder if part of it is like, I was like so sheltered growing up. I didn't have as much access to like the pop culture from like the millennials, you know?
Maybe.
Like I didn't watch like Mean Girls. I didn't watch I wasn't allowed to watch Pokemon until I was like, 7 or 8. Like I didn't like play any games in like 2003. I played those games in like 2005 and 2006.
Well,
I finally got a GameCube.
I should say I didn't get like a PlayStation until I think 2005.
Oh, okay.
And so those games came out then, but I didn't actually get to play. I might have said earlier.
That is so wild that like people used to play games that were like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
Which is just weird to think about nowadays. And also, like, it's also weird to think about how a game would come out and it's got bugs. It's got bugs.
Yeah,
you're not fixing that shit once it's out.
Well, that's a positive and negative, right? Like back then, it was like you're buying the final product.
Right.
Now you're buying a piece of shit, and there's a day one patch that's 97 gigabytes. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And
it's
then
like,
you have to hope that they fix it later. And then that's the other thing is that there's so much like storage space and stuff. Like you had memory constraints that you had to like
memory cards. Yeah.
Well, it's like this game takes this many blocks of memory. And it's like, I don't know how much a block was. It was probably like, probably like a kilobyte or something. But it's like, that's how big your save file is. If the game takes up like 3 blocks of memory in your memory card, that's how much it takes up. Mm-hmm. And then now it's like, oh yeah, well, Call of Duty, fucking Modern Warfare 4. Too bad it's half of your PlayStation's memory because this is the only game that you're playing, right? I mean, I don't want to be like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, these days it's not like it used to be because that's dumb. But I do think that,
I mean, there are positives and negatives to the.
Well, as somebody like in the software industry, I think that one of the things that has happened is for stuff like the video game industry and stuff, when you have such tight constraints with your hardware, because it's like a GameCube and it has, like tiny like computational power compared because like the way that like hardware has gotten better, like one sort of like joke between like computer like programmers, computer scientists, and computer engineers, which are like the people who design like the circuits and CPUs and stuff, is like basically advances in computer science over the last 10 years have completely negated all of the advances in computer engineering in the last 10 years, because basically the advances in computer engineering allow us to have like GPUs and stuff and massive parallelization so that you can have like a 16 core CPU in your gaming PC. And then in software, it's just like we make this like shit that's more and more bloated because we have so much more headroom.
Limitation forces innovation.
Yeah. And also like, there's a really interesting video I saw about how limited they were with the sound kits, with like the MIDI like music kits and stuff with like the Nintendo 64. Mm-hmm. And that actually had a big influence in how the music was composed. And if it wasn't like that, then like music that sounds like video game music to us nowadays, it would sound completely different. And it probably would have been a lot more boring, which is really, really interesting. And so I think it's not as much of a, and this is the thing for everything. This is the thing for music production. This is the thing for movie production. And so it's not like, oh yeah, they don't make video games like they used to. What it is I think that when you have advances in technology that allow you to do more, are you like pushing the boundaries of that? Or are you using it as a way to like do what you were doing before, but easier, Right. And so as a result, I think that when people are like, oh, they don't make X like they used to or something, some of that is just people being old. But I think another part of that, and, I think we're seeing this especially now with like, the state of the video game industry and the film industry, is that what people are capable of and what people have deemed as like acceptable enough to, release to a market is not the same.
No, I think I agree. I think you're totally right. I think when you're forced to work within a boundary, you end up creating some of your best work. And so it's a little bit before our time, but I know there's a lot of stories about like the 64 and like the Genesis, and like I know there was one I watched like a 20-minute. I love those 20 minute to an hour YouTube video about an extremely obscure thing.
Yes.
I love that shit so much. But it was about Sonic 3D Blast, which is a really shitty game, but they basically performed a miracle so that they could have a 30-second 3D animated intro of him running at the beginning. And it was like this engineering fucking eureka moment.
Right.
But they had to figure out how to do it because they only had like what, a fucking bit of storage.
It is just
ridiculous.
like it is absolutely wild. Speaking of videos about incredibly niche things like Temple OS and the fact that he built an entire compiler and an entire operating system out of for his own like homespun version of C. It's just like I can't describe like how ridiculous that is.
And the elephant had blue eyes. That was
What's better than real? How about an elephant with blue eyes? But yeah, like the Temple OS thing just totally wrecked my train of thought.
It's cool. We can move on.
Yeah.
The next one I want to bring up, which is a shift away. We kind of been on video games for a little while. Adventures in Odyssey. So for those
this
of you
will be
who
interesting to talk about.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, which is most people, this is a super long running audio drama series. I think they're still making them. So they're coming up on like 30 years now, I think. But it surrounds a bunch of characters in a fictional town, Odyssey, which I think is in Illinois or something.
It's got to be somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's definitely in the Midwest. Maybe it's like Utah or something. I don't know. But anyway, it's
Utah. Yes, the Midwestern state of Utah.
Well, okay, all right, whatever. It doesn't matter.
No, Mormon Adventures in Odyssey is in Utah.
If we must, I just watched a video on Five Nights at Freddy's today, and that takes place in Utah, and that's why Utah was on my brain. That's why I said Utah, not because I think it's in the Midwest, although I will say that geography is my worst subject, and I don't actually know what the Midwest is. Can I continue now?
I bet my geography is worse than yours.
And it's bad. It's bad.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. The point is, this is a Christian series for kids.
By Focus on the Family.
Yes, Focus on the Family, which I think my family got like a...
Oh, did you watch Mickey and Me?
Have that in here, actually.
Oh my God.
Well, it's brief.
Okay. So my parents weren't into Focus on the Family. I was a big idea kid. So I fucking watched like VeggieTales and all that. Cause like, you know, it's very important to understand the difference between Focus on the Family, like Adventures in Odyssey, and VeggieTales. Okay. These are like, it's very important. Okay. And I was a cool VeggieTales kid. All right.
I'm about to gas up Adventures in Odyssey, so we'll see how this goes.
All right.
I also remember liking some VeggieTales, but like of the Christian media I had to consume as a child, Adventures in Odyssey was my favorite. Okay. Basically, it's for kids. There's a moral every episode. They tell you to pray, go to church, help your community, etc., etc.
And not turn on applesauce or whatever.
We'll get to that.
Oh shit. Okay. Because that was one of the only episodes that I listened to. Because that's the thing is like, my parents weren't into the Focus on the Family stuff, but my grandparents and my aunts and uncles were.
Oh, okay.
So I sort of, whenever I would go to visit, I would watch Mickey and Me and Adventures on Odyssey and stuff.
I see. Yeah. Okay. That's funny that you watched only that one. That's like, I've never seen any Dragon Ball Z except for when they fight Frieza.
Right.
I watched one episode. That is really weird. But here's the thing. They were really good as far as I can remember. And they might be shitty now, right? Most Christian media, I remember being hot garbage. Like even as a kid, I was like, this is bad.
Yeah.
Odyssey, I always liked. If you ever want to have a fun night, get together with your friends, get some drinks, watch like a Christian, like a romance movie or something. Princess Cut. Oh my God. Objectively, some of the worst thing ever. Oh. It's hilarious. It's so funny how bad it is. But anyway, Odyssey, I thought was really good. It was funny. The drama was like gripping. The characters had manga arcs that like lasted years. I really liked it as a kid. I haven't listened to any of these in like 15 years. They might suck now. But the plot is this. There is this ice cream shop owned by this guy named John Whitaker,
Right.
who goes by Wit for short. So everyone
Yeah.
calls him Wit. The shop is called Wit's End. Funny pun, right? Kids come into the shop. They want to get ice cream or whatever. They bring in their problems. They talk to Wit. Wit tells them that Jesus loves them, how to be a better person, yada, yada. And the kids go out and, do silly things, right? That was the general gist of it. Wit is like this nice old grandpa. He's like a Santa Claus type figure.
Right.
He was the lovable kind of heart of the whole show. He's got two main employees, Connie and Eugene, who are like young adults. They get their own stories. So you get some variance in age.
Mhm.
There's like kids, there's adults, there's like elderly. You kind of stories around all of them, right? Where it gets good, Wit is an inventor. And Eugene, his employee, is like a super genius. And they make some crazy shit together that the kids can use at Wit's End. So it's not just an ice cream shop. One of them, it's like their pinnacle, is the imagination station. This is like the shit, all right? It's a spaceship looking thing. It's like a pod that you can fucking jack into, like Matrix cyberpunk style, Beyblade style, apparently. You like hook your brain up to it. You enter into a virtual world and go on adventures. So these kids would like jack in, and then you could witness stories from history, from the Bible, even like fictional stories up close. Like you're interacting with these figures, like these historical figures, and they would talk to you and stuff. So, and then the thing is, like, you would spend days in there, and then you'd come out and 15 minutes had passed.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it
So
was-
it's like Inception dream time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like the coolest sci-fi shit for, I was young with these. This would have been like 4 or 5, I was listening to these.
That was like the biggest like gaslighting thing where it's like, use your imagination. You can, adventures like it's like the box episode.
SpongeBob episode. Yeah. But this was like that, but on steroids, because it was real technology you could use.
Right.
You brought up applesauce. I wasn't even going to talk about that,
Okay.
but there was like a whole arc where
I would like you to tell me, because I've been sitting with this mystery, because that happened to be the one that was playing in my aunt's minivan when we were driving to
I'm going to
fucking
feel
Kings Island one
really
day.
bad now that I don't remember it specifically, but I can give you
shit.
little details. Essentially, Wit had designed the imagination station, and it had certain safe locks on it.
Right.
So you couldn't fuck with it. Eugene was like, so one of the manga arcs is that Eugene is an atheist. And then like
okay.
hundreds of episodes in, he finally converts to be a Christian. It's like, and obviously, again, I was a little kid, but like, I think it was a well done arc. Like, but whatever. Early in the story,
I'm surprised that they like that something Dobson, the guy who was in charge of Focus on the guy who started Focus on the Family. I'm surprised that he had let like an atheist character in the show.
Oh, I don't remember it being particularly like.
I wonder if like
annoying.
they had like in like the treatment, like when they were first starting it, like, okay, we're going to have a main character who's an atheist, but in 200 episodes, he's going to become a Christian. He's like, make it 100 and you got yourself a deal.
Well, Eugene was always interesting because he was super smart, but he would have like philosophical conversations with Wit. And it was really that was my introduction to that sort of thing as a kid. And they would talk about morality. And he would be like, I generally agree with you on most moral things, but I think where you're getting your morality from is suspect. And they would have like genuinely really interesting conversations for like a little kid to listen to. And they weren't, you're being proselytized to. I'm not going to pretend that the show wasn't like love Jesus.
Yeah.
But it wasn't beating you necessarily with it. Anyway, the whole applesauce thing is, he was like, I put these specific limitations on the imagination station. And Eugene one time was like, I can make this into like some seriously powerful technology. I just need to take these limitations off. And I just need the code to deactivate it. And Wit's like, no, I'm not, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. It's wrong. Connie, the other employee.
So do you remember why it was wrong?
I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
Connie, the other employee, who doesn't know anything about technology, Wit has
because she's a girl.
Well, Wit has trusted her with the password in case any kid fucks something up accidentally. The password was applesauce.
Right.
Eugene puts the code in, and the imagination station, like, I'm pretty sure it almost explodes, and like Wit's End almost burns down. because it wasn't just limitations on like what would happen to you inside, but the hardware would not function.
Right.
And it was meant to be an allegory. Wit is God. Connie and Eugene are Adam and Eve. Applesauce, apple in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
That was that particular episode, which was important, but not like the main shit I'm gonna get to.
Oh, okay.
Because there's some dude. The fact that that's the only one you know makes me really excited for what I'm about to tell you.
Oh boy,
because some of this shit is insane. So you understand what the imagination station is, how that works. Wit is an inventor, but that's not the only insane thing about him. He used to be in the military, and he had 2 sons that were also in the military.
Just like God.
Right. One of his sons died overseas. And there's like some real drama there, like some Uncle Iroh level like drama there that they go back to. Like it's actually really good. His other son, Jason, is an NSA agent. He's like a fucking secret agent.
What?
Yes. Dude, yes. And there are stories where Jason is doing spy shit. He's stopping terrorists, defusing bombs, like scaling buildings. And
funding right-wing militias in the Middle East.
Actually, yes. That's not even a joke. Yes. And then the next week, like you tune in the next week.
This episode of Adventures in Odyssey is dedicated to the brave fighters of the Mujahideen.
Bro, Wit would totally have like a very interesting conversation with Soldier Boy.
you have an Oliver North cameo on one of the episodes. What would Jesus say about the Contras? Well, I think let's go back and ask Jesus. Hey, Jesus.
So there were these crazy episodes where Jason would do spy shit. And then the very next week, it would be like, oh, little Susie is wondering why it's not okay to cheat on her spelling test, right? Like, so there was kind of some whiplash there.
Okay.
But I was always excited for the next one because there was even the like low stakes one weren't really bad. They were exciting. I remember in one set of episodes, Jason faked his death permanently. Like after this, he was no longer Jason because a paramilitary organization was trying to kill his family.
What?
Dude, this shit was real. It was insane.
It's crazy.
And that is the sort of show where Odyssey got like really good. It had, and I'm not joking or exaggerating, it had a fucking supervillain. Dr. Regis Blackguard opened up Blackguard's Castle, a direct competitor to Wit's End.
Oh my God. Where
he committed the heinous crime of selling children ice cream without giving them Bible verses. But more seriously, he wanted to like put Wit's End out of business and then purchase it because beneath Wit's End was one of the underground railroad tunnels. Like from the Civil War where they took slaves up north, Wit's End was used in the Civil War to like, there was an underground railroad tunnel underneath it. That's like a bunch of episodes were about that. He wanted to get into those tunnels because they're inside those specific ones was a special mineral that he was trying to mine to sell to Red Scorpion, a terrorist organization that Jason had been trying to dismantle for years. What? Red Scorpion was creating a virus that required that mineral. Okay, so Dr. Blackguard was trying to get in.
Does this have like some like weird like Revelation tie-in or something?
Not Revelation, but like I'm gonna get to it in a minute. Like the final conference. The last episode in this arc is called The Final Confrontation, and we'll get to that. Through some tomfoolery and like genuine evil, he does get underneath Wit's End and like start to mine this material, but he gets caught down there. And when he's caught down there, he has this conversation. I think it's with Wit, and they're talking about like why he's doing this. He doesn't care that what he's gonna do is gonna fucking kill people. And Wit's like, you're a megalomaniac. You're insane. And Dr. Blackguard heavily implies he sold his soul to a demon, and then he blows himself up, including the tunnels, completely destroying them. Here's why. So he would be the only man to ever profit from them. If he couldn't have it, no one can. It was insane. What the fuck? That was why I fucking love these things. It was like such good drama. And so that was like the Blackguard saga. There were like 3 more. I started to age out of them a little bit after that, but
that's wild that this was, according to Wikipedia, aimed for families with children 12 and younger.
Yeah.
And we have people fucking suicide bombing themselves.
Dude, it was dramatic. I remember, so in the next one.
Oh my God, they're still making them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still coming out. They're like 900 plus episodes. They're
1,012.
Boom. They're approaching One Piece levels. But it's been going on since the 90s. Since
the 80s.
The 80s?
1987.
Damn. I didn't even know. I thought it was the 90s. Wow. Okay, well, there you go. You're talking about how like 12 and under seems a little crazy for what's going on. That stuff never scared me. The next arc did scare me.
Oh, shit. Okay.
This was the Novacom saga. It was a huge arc. It took place over like 200 episodes, I think.
Is this the arc where they find out about the problem of evil?
No. No, it was not. I think they probably had a few episodes where they like discussed that. But in this one, a mega corporation called Andromeda opens up a subsidiary called Novacom, and it has a business in Odyssey, and they sell a product called a Nova Box. A Nova Box is sort of like a cable box, but it was super advanced for its time. It could pick up way more channels than any other cable system. And this was coming out like early 2000s, so this was like really advanced. This was like at that point,
an iPhone.
It was like a crazy thing at the time. Now a cable box, nobody gives a fuck. But back then it was like a really cool thing, right? These Nova boxes were running on some sort of experimental technology. And Novacom actually found that part of it, they also had a use in a medical division. And if you had a Nova box running near you, it would help with pain and paralysis. It was like slowly healing people. And they called it the box of miracles. But if you turned it off, you would get way worse than you were beforehand.
Oh, so it's like drugs.
Sort of like drugs, but it was doing something to like your brain. But they couldn't figure out what it was. You had all these little stories of like different families in Odyssey messing with Nova boxes, right? Like piece by piece by piece, until you eventually cut to a Jason story where he's investigating Andromeda, the parent company, and he discovers Nova boxes can convert both ways radio waves to brain waves.
Okay.
And it's all part of a secret plot to mind control the whole planet. Like a step up from fucking the terrorist organization. This is like a global plot. All right.
I can't think of what this could possibly be an allegory for.
It's not everything. I might have fucked up with the applesauce thing. Not everything is a direct allegory.
This one is definitely a direct allegory.
Well, okay. At the crux of this story arc, right? We're like reaching the end. We're reaching the climax. Novacom needs a specific piece of technology to act as an interface between a Nova box and like a global satellite so they can fucking enact their plan. The only piece of technology in existence that can bridge that gap between the human mind and electromagnetic waves is the imagination station. It is the only thing in existence. They brought it all back full circle. And I remember that blew my mind as a kid. It was so cool. There was like a whole thing where they actually stole it. They like broke into Wits End and stole it, and they hooked it up to this huge tower. And like, I remember, it's funny, I was reading the Wikia article, like just trying to remember this stuff, and it was going over the plot of the episode, and it's like, Jason chases after the Novacom agents to find where they put the imagination station. We cut to another scene where Mayor Tom Riley, after witnessing the spiritual battles around town, asks everyone to pray. That's like word for word, bar for bar what it said.
My God. There we are.
Oh my God. But it was super fun. It was super cool. They stopped it. Obviously, there wasn't like world domination or whatever. There were a lot of really fun like one-off episodes too, but the big crazy conspiracy ones were always my favorite and probably shaped a lot of like what kind of stuff I like watching now. And that is why
I had no idea that it was that the Adventures in Odyssey lore was so deep.
Right. Nobody does. They're just like, oh, it's probably just talking about the Bible every day.
That's just the thing that homeschoolers listen to. There was a TV show that they had called Last Chance Detectives. Did you watch that? Focus on the Family has?
Oh my God, you just fucking unlocked that in
Oh my
my
God,
brain.
really? That like fucking, there was like an episode that it was really scary. I don't remember what happens in the episode, but like somebody falls into like a vat of chemicals or something at the end of the episode, and I was like, no.
I don't even remember.
I guess Focus on the Family made some pretty edgy stuff.
I mean, I think you can get away with a lot as long as you have the banner of like doing bad things is sinful, you know?
Yeah, as long as you don't swear and you have like a message at the end, then I guess you can.
That was kind of a funny thing that this is not, that was, I don't remember caring about it or thinking about it in Odyssey, but like in Dragon Ball Z, the dub where they can't say damn. So Vegeta, when he's like going Majin, he's just like, darn you!
Did I tell you about that with the series of unfortunate events?
No.
So the movie came out in 2006, right? Yeah, I think the movie came out in 2006. I started reading the books shortly after watching the movie. And the second book, The Reptile Room, I was at a hotel with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like staying up late reading The Reptile Room. And then Count Olaf, who's the bad guy, at some point he tells like the main characters to get in the damn car.
Ooh.
And then I stopped reading. And I kind of walked around, and then my mom noticed that I wasn't reading, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I think so. She's like, what's wrong? Did you stop reading? Yeah. And then I explained to her it's because somebody said damn. Like I got it.
How old were you when that happened? So it's 2006. So
this would have been like 06 or 07, so I would have been like 8 or 9.
We had the same experience at the same time.
Right. So you're gonna tell me
because you know the story,
Here
right?
we go.
Yeah. So Sonic the Hedgehog. 06
well, actually, I foreshadowed to it earlier in this very podcast episode.
Did I miss the foreshadowing?
You said we're gonna get to that.
I was talking about Sly the Tasmanian Tiger and how he's a shitty Shadow ripoff. But this is also Shadow related. The Shadow video game that came out before Sonic 06, it came out in like 2004, I think. I didn't play it until probably about 2006, 2007. Around then, Shadow, when he dies, because that game was edgy as hell, he would go, damn.
Damn.
Yeah, he would do it just like that. And I remember hearing that once, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I died on purpose again. And he did it again, and I just shut my PlayStation off. And I had a much more drastic reaction than you. I just took it out, put it in the case, brought it to my mom. I'm like, I can't play this.
Oh my God.
She's like, why? Is it broken? I'm like, no, I just can't play this.
Actually, I think one of the other things about that was, I think at the time I was like, I had like learned what the swear words are and what they had meant, right? And damn is not one of the bad ones. But I thought that it was actually the worst one because you're asking God to send somebody to hell.
Hell yeah.
And that's like the worst thing you can possibly do. So that's actually the worst one.
Yeah.
I was a very principled 8-year-old.
Yeah, well, we were similar in that sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's funny that happened around the same time.
But actually, it's not that bad of a word because God sends lots of people to hell.
And that's where we're gonna end the episode. No. So one thing you brought up that we can talk really briefly about, I had like a little snippet about it, was McGee and Me.
Oh boy.
So this was another one of those focus on the family, Christian media, whatever.
This one was a lot less edgy.
Yeah, no, they never did anything cool in McGee and Me.
I think that's because it was one of the first ones, so it was back in like the 80s.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I never thought about when it was made, but recollecting what it looked like, that was definitely like the 80s.
Oh yeah. It was very 80s.
Yeah, no, it was shitty. Basically, there's only like 10 episodes, I think, total. It's about this.
They made another one when he's like a teenager.
I remember that. I thought they were like 5 each. They were 10 each. I don't know. Anyway, it's about this kid. He has a little animated buddy, McGee, who he draws into reality, and McGee will like run around and do silly,
It's
wacky
like
hijinks.
Calvin and Hobbes, but not It's
Good.
cool.
Calvin and Hobbes, but not good. But so I only remember one episode plot. I don't know if you watched these, like all of them or a few of them. The only one
I probably do. But
okay.
Tell me, do you remember the name of the episode?
No, I just remember the plot.
Was the name of the episode The Big Lie?
Yes.
Is the Big
How do we
Lie.
remember the same one? What the fuck? That's so weird. Anyway, I'm gonna recount The Big Lie. I feel like you reached in my head there. I don't like that. The kid whose name I don't remember, I'm gonna call him Kristoff because I can't think of what his name is.
That's his fucking name now.
Yeah, he's Kristoff now. He snuck out at night to watch a scary movie. So he asked his parents, "Can I see this movie?" And they're like, "No,
It's garbage."
That's garbage.
They call it garbage, and they're like offended that he asked.
Yeah. And then he's like, "All right, fine." And then he goes.
In fact, I think that they actually like send him to his room for asking to watch the movie.
That's so ridiculous.
His parents were dicks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But he sneaks out. He sets up some elaborate like Home Alone fucking trap. So if people knock on his door, it plays a recording.
He had a recording, and then he also had like a sensor so that at one point he had like radio his friends so that they would like ding dong ditch to like keep his mom out of his room or something.
Yep.
Why do I remember so much about this? Do you remember the name of the movie?
Oh, it was like Freakazoids 4.
Night of the Blood Freaks.
Night of the Blood Freaks! Oh my god! Yes! Holy shit! Do you remember the other ones or just this one?
I remember some of the other ones. For some reason, this is the one. I think it's like...
This one always stood out to me.
It stood out to me because it was like... I was just thinking of how much trouble I would get into if I did that.
Oh.
And I think that's maybe why.
That's not... okay, I want to get to what stood out to me.
All right,
here's the plot is, he sneaks out. He sees the movie. Okay, he sees it with his friend. It traumatizes him.
Yeah.
Like, it fucks him up. He's like, I can't sleep. Oh my God, this is fucking me up. He goes home, and his parents find out that he snuck out. And he's like, guys, I'm not okay. And they're like, well, what you put into your mind affects the kind of person you are, and it hurts your soul. And his punishment is that he's just traumatized now.
No, his punishment is that he has to do extra chores,
he's grounded or whatever, but like, they're like, well, you're fucked up now. Like, I remember, that was the part that I remember. He was like, I'm having a bad time. They're like, sorry, I'm not going to console you. You did this.
Well, so I remember because they just had one like static shot of his parents, and they were both omni-manning on their respective
the chair. Yeah.
So that's like an inside joke between us, but omni-manning is just where you sit down on a sofa and just don't do anything.
It's based on one really funny shot.
We don't have to explain it. It's funnier if we don't explain it.
Okay, anyway, yeah. Okay. They were omni-manning.
And then I just remember the dad being like, go upstairs until we discuss your punishment or something like that. And then later he's like, man, I barely have time for anything between all these extra chores. And then McGee shows up and he's like, dang tickles. That's right. You shouldn't have been a silly Billy and gone to that movie, you fucking idiot.
Fucking Kristoff, dumbass.
Yeah. No wonder your parents gave you such a dumb name. You were destined to be an idiot.
It's clear you remember a lot more about the show than I did. Because that's the only one I thought I remembered all the way, but apparently I fucking didn't have all those details. The only other one is he had a pen pal.
Oh, right.
Who was from a foreign country.
Right.
And they treated him like shit.
Yeah. There was another one where it was like about pride. And the only thing I remember about that is that he was daydreaming because in his art class, he was learning about Leonardo da Vinci.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember this at all.
He daydreams that he is like a contemporary of Leonardo da Vinci, and he's having an art competition with Leonardo da Vinci. And then Leonardo da Vinci is just like, oh, there was just something that I whipped up this morning. I think it was because there was another kid at school who was also an artist who was like better than him or something. And he had like a rivalry. Leonardo da Vinci has like the fucking Mona Lisa. And then he unveils his drawing and it's just like a shitty stick figure. And he's like, no, I can do better. And he wakes up and he's like, I can do better. And his art teacher's like, do better than Leonardo da Vinci. And then everybody laughs at him. It's like, no!
And then McGee shows up and he's like, get dunked on, bitch. We didn't really explain
World
McGee.
star!
World star! McGee was a profoundly unhelpful little imp guy. He would just show up and just like shit on Kristoff and then leave. We're approaching the end here, and I feel like we could go off on a long tangent because I have 17 other episodes I want to name that I think you're wrong about. I want to end with a question. If you could actually travel back to 2004, so like your mind is back in your 6-year-old body, so you know everything you know now, but you're 6. You have one chance, one conversation to convince your parents that you're actually an adult from the future. This is a weird mind experiment I have with myself sometimes because I'm a freak. What would you tell them?
Okay, Dad, listen, I don't have a lot of time. I only have one conversation to tell this to you. What you were trying to do in the 90s with baseball analytics, it was a really good idea, but it was ahead of its time. It's 2004 now, and we're half a decade away from the deep learning revolution. So this is the perfect time to leverage probabilistic graphical models to do baseball analytics. You just need to not do it in fucking BASIC like you did with your friend in fucking 1989, all right? This is a true story, by the way.
Yeah, no, I figured. I didn't think you were making this up.
So get the copy of the Russell and Norwig Foundations of AI textbook that you have in that box over there. Like, can you imagine, like, you have like a kid and they just fucking like start telling you that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, my parents would probably try to like exercise me or something.
That's what I'm saying. You have one conversation, so you got to nail it. I think you're nailing it though. Like you can set up a baseball game as a hidden Markov model. All right. And here's a question. Are you referencing things your dad knows about? Like he understands all these concepts.
I don't know if he would know what a hidden Markov model was, but he would know how to find out. Maybe he does. I don't know. I'll ask him.
Well, the only reason because like I'm thinking the way this is set up, you need to fucking convince them.
Yeah.
Because like my go-to, if they just asked me this out of the blue, would be like, I can tell you who the next 5 presidents are going to be or whatever. But here's the thing, then they have to wait several years to see if I'm right. That doesn't work, right? So if you're going to convince them, I think you're basically on the money. Mm-hmm. You know something super specific from his past he probably hasn't told you about when you're 6. And you know a bunch of details about like information that you shouldn't be able to comprehend. I think that's a pretty damn good answer. I think you nailed it. If I had to come up with something, I think I would tell them.
Oh yeah, I would also tell them to get out of the real estate market in 3 years.
Well, we're not getting into, because it would just be like, buy Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin? Don't worry right now. We'll get into that later. Like, this is all after this conversation. I think the winning strategy here is tell them everything I know about filing taxes. Because here's the thing. A little kid could like accidentally see something on TV and be like, Mom, Dad, I know what sex is. Or like, you know, something that a little kid shouldn't know, but like might. No little kid is gonna hear about taxes and memorize the difference between a 1099 and a W-2, right? I think that is like the optimal strat. Okay. If you don't have, I think if you have something hyper specific, that's probably even better. But I think if you don't have knowledge of like something from their past, I think that's it. My proof is I am required by the federal government to spend a portion of my life stressing every year over confusing financial documents. God, being an adult sucks.